One thing that we need to make sure we address right out the gate is there is a difference between fat burning and fat loss. Old age argument of do you do cardio fasted or do you do post workout or do you do it at night? Does it really matter? And this is where I tell all of my clients, from bodybuilders all the way to your lifestyle guys, don't get into the echo chamber of simply doing a machine because everybody else is doing it. It's about a smart, methodical approach. Is it going to be hard to lose fat? Yes. Hello, friends. My name is AJ Sims. Welcome to episode 5 of the Kingdom Build podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking all things fat loss and cardio modalities. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So a question that so many of us always talk about, we always have, is how do we do cardio? How do we perform cardio? How much cardio? The frequency of cardio, styles of cardio. I want to lose body fat. Therefore, how much cardio do I need to do? It's a very widely ranged, frequently asked topic. And I am here to break it down in a simplistic fashion for you to fully grasp and understand, to help you navigate your fat loss journey. So whether you are a competitor getting ready for an upcoming show, or you are a lifestyle person that simply wants to get in the best shape possible, feel optimal, make sure that you're mitigating your stimulus to fatigue ratio, your SFR, and we're mitigating any of the brain fog issues or lack of sleep or not being able to perform at work or with your family, showing up as a father and a husband and a business owner, entrepreneur, businessman, whatever the case may be. So we're going to look at two different scenarios in the form of a physique competitor and in the form of a lifestyle client, essentially. I work with a wide variety range of people all across the world that their goals are different. Their goals are different, their lifestyle is different, and what they're trying to obtain in totality is different. So one thing that we need to make sure we address right out the gate is there is a difference between fat burning and fat loss. A lot of people will get the two basically intertwined, and they think that it is the same thing when it is not. So essentially, when people perform a cardiovascular session, the majority of people have an Apple Watch on, and they will set their Apple Watch to that setting. I do the same thing, to see what their total caloric expenditure during that workout was, whether it be aerobic or anaerobic weight training, HIIT cardio, whatever the case is. They're setting their watch. They want to see what they are accomplishing. And in that time, the goal for them, specifically during that 30-minute, 45-minute, hour period, whatever the case may be, is to try to burn as many calories as possible, because they believe that that is how you're inducing lipolysis. And that is how you're getting the fat loss effect over a long period of time, when in actuality, that's not quite as simplistic as it can be, right? So we need to understand the difference between fat burning and fat loss. The biggest goal, of course, is over a long period of time is fat loss with mitigating the least amount of muscle tissue loss possible, if not holding on, maintaining, and also building, which all three can be done depending on your level of experience, your dietary adherency, genetic disposition, hormonal balance, et cetera, et cetera. So they did a 10-person case study with 10 healthy males, essentially, where they took them and put them in 60% of a VO2 max output at 60-minute intervals. And they did 3 different states. They did postprandial, post-absorptive, and also sedentary, basically, where they weren't moving. So they found out that the post-absorptive group was actually increasing fat oxidation over the 24-hour period, as opposed to the postprandial group in that 24-hour span of time. So what that tells us is the old age argument of, do you do cardio fasted or do you do post-workout or do you do it at night? Does it really matter? On a clinical trial of 10 healthy males, they found out that in a post-absorptive state, which is more of a fasted state, you are getting more fat oxidation over that 24-hour period time instead of the postprandial. Now, at the same time, we have to remember the majority that are listening to this, a lot of you are very, very muscular, and you've been doing this for quite some time. And even if you're not, I'm assuming that you are following and adhering to a nutritional outline and you are living a lifestyle to promote fat loss and muscle gain. So we can't necessarily take this PubMed review clinical trial and put that into this is the end all be all to fat loss and increased fat oxidation over a 24-hour period of time. It's good data and it's good data to understand. However, we have to go by anecdote. We also have to go basically by your stimulus to fatigue ratio as well. What's working in conjunction with your weight training? What works in conjunction with your lifestyle? What works in conjunction with the most optimal performance throughout the day that you can possibly have while obtaining the fat loss to occur throughout the day, the weeks, and the months leading into your said goal. So if you're a physique competitor, we have to keep a few things in mind. We are trying to mitigate tissue loss in the form of muscular tissue, and we are trying to burn as much fat as we possibly can. This is a little more tricky in the sense that we are trying to present the most muscular physique on stage while being at the leanest state possible. So we have to look out for a few things. One being, is the cardio that you're doing causing so much stimulus to fatigue ratio that your weight training session is getting a net negative now, essentially? So now the intensity of your training has gone way down. If you're already at a caloric deficit and you're on any type of fat burning supplementation, your alpha 2 adrenergic agonist, beta 2 adrenergic agonist, those type of things, you have to culminate all those into the thinking behind it is you could be very well pushing yourself to the edge of actually losing muscle tissue and not just fat. So this is where you take into account the type of machines that you use. A lot of us are using stair mills, which I love. I think it's a phenomenal tool for cardio. It obviously gets your heart rate up without even really having to go very fast as far as intensity, just due to the fact that it's revolving stairs. And if you're standing upright, which you should be and not leaning over, your heart rate will start reaching into, zone 2, zone 3 cardio much quicker than it would on an elliptical or recumbent bike. However, we do need to watch for leg tissue being eaten up. It's very common. It occurs to many, especially those that don't have very well developed quad sweeps. Typically, those are the first to go, especially if you're an ectomorphic body type like me. Your legs will start to flatten pretty fast and they get beat up pretty quickly. Now, I love the stair mill again because of the isometric tension that you can put on your not only your quads, but also your hamstrings and your glutes constantly flexing and squeezing throughout the entire session. Again, however, it's individualistic in its response to how much you need to do and if you need to cycle off of that machine into something else. And this is where I tell all of my clients, from bodybuilders all the way to your lifestyle guys, don't get into the echo chamber of simply doing a machine because everybody else is doing it. There's different modalities of cardio that we can utilize. Now, we can focus on doing more of the HIIT style cardio, which is more lipolytic. So more of a glycogen carbohydrate style burning cardio during that short period of time, instead of directly burning from adipose tissue. We're basically directly going into more of a glycogen storage, whether it be muscular or liver or both. So simply put, you can cycle those cardios from your low intensity steady state to also HIIT. I love utilizing tools for HIIT cardio in terms of battle ropes, sled pushes weighted in a forward motion, a reverse motion, swimming in a pool, getting your laps in. These are great ways to really reach maximum VO2 max and really get the most intensity out of your short duration HIIT cardio session. Again, focused more onto the lipolytic fashion, more glycogen expenditure rather than your low intensity steady state, which will focus more on adipose tissue that we're burning during that said amount of time. At the end of the day, though, what we do know is HIIT cardio in a study has directly correlated to specifically your midsection losing a specific amount of adipose tissue. They did a study where they conducted it into high intensity interval training and correlated with the more intense aerobic session. You're getting a more direct correlation to fat burning in that area. Again, we can't just go off clinical data because everybody's different. So we have to also take that data into consideration, but use our anecdote, use our biofeedback, see what's happening not only to our scale weight, but also visualization. What does our overall body composition look like? We also know too, adherence is key. You will do the cardio long term that you enjoy. So you must stick to cardio over a long period of time that you actually enjoy, especially if you're not prepping for a contest. You need to think long term in the totality of your results. So remember, find cardio that you actually enjoy. Me personally, I like high intensity battle ropes, sled pushes. I like to hit a big monster truck tire with a sledgehammer. I like to go into farmer's carry. And then I like to also get daily steps in, keeping my non exercise activity thermogenesis, essentially just the movement of your body throughout the day, fidgeting, cleaning the house, going for short duration walks, and hitting that step goal and step count for a few reasons. Number one, stimulus to fatigue ratio is very low by doing that. Number two, my appetite is not going to go through the roof. See, with higher intensity cardio or long duration, low intensity cardio, you can tend to basically have an increased appetite, extreme increased appetite through the mechanism of ghrelin. Your body goes into a protective state because it knows the expenditure that just came out. Therefore, your appetite will go through the roof. So we have to think in terms of this from a not only a physiological standpoint, but psychological. Again, if your lifestyle, if you're getting ready for a show, this is the way it works. There's different modalities that we need to use and explore. I have my guys cycle cardio constantly and consistently, but also have them cycle cardio frequency. What I mean by that is if I have a client or an athlete that is slowing down on progression and we are basically utilizing the majority of variables in the program, I will basically pull them off that cardio for an entire 1 to 2 weeks where they're doing no machine cardio whatsoever. We'll move to daily NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We will also introduce, like I said, alpha-2 adrenergic agonist or beta-2 adrenergic agonist into the mix in the form of fat-burning tools. And we will also manipulate the nutrition from a standpoint of bringing them down possibly into a further deficit and giving their body a rest from that higher intensity cardio or the low intensity frequency cardio that we were doing constantly and consistently. Not only are we going to get better sleep at night, very much so, very big key and a big thing you want to make sure you're focusing on because a lot of your fat burning is happening in that sleep. Very, very important. But we're giving their legs a rest. So we are reducing overall stimulus to fatigue ratio. Then we can also manipulate their training into higher volume, possibly higher frequency. Some people even do double splits, AM session, PM session, or to get the type of energy expenditure, I may make them do posing sessions throughout the day as well. So there's a lot of different variables and variations that I'll have my clients do. And more with my lifestyle guys, I'll have them do exercise snacks throughout the day. What does that mean? That's 3 to 5 minutes of getting a short burst of a high intensity interval style cardio, 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. You just, when you have the opportunity and the capacity to get up, you get up, go. You can do anything from push-ups to high knees to jumping jacks to sprints, burpees. There's a lot of things you can do in the form of lifestyle for these exercise snacks to get this total daily energy expenditure without dropping you too far into a fatigue ratio or spiking your hunger through the roof. So methodically understanding how cardio works, finding the cardio that you enjoy doing on a long period of time in that said lifestyle. If you follow me, you know that I stay lean year round, and I'm able to do that without having to do tons of low intensity steady state cardio. I cycle my cardio where there's some weeks where I will specifically do elliptical stair mill, incline treadmill for sessions of 20 to 30 minutes on top of my daily step count, which could be anywhere from 12,000 to 18,000, depending on the day and how I feel and the time that I have, but always continuing to keep my NEAT at a very good level. So my total daily energy expenditure is still very high. During that time, my training volume may reduce a little bit. My training intensity is still high. I'm still going to 1 to 2 reps in reserve during that training time, but my training volume may come down because my overall stimulus to fatigue ratio on those longer, more frequent low intensity steady state sessions are accumulating more stimulus to fatigue ratio. I don't want my sleep to get into a net negative because I'm doing too much in the gym. I want to factor in every single thing that I'm doing so that every part of my life is being benefited from it, as well as optimal physique results. Very, very important. Now, there's going to be weeks that I don't do any cardio in the form of machines, but I will do simply steps. And on those weeks, my volume will increase and possibly frequency in the gym. This allows me to feel more rested where I can go harder in the gym for more volume or even more frequency. So none of these weeks have anything to do with a deload in terms of weight training. They're simply how I cycle my cardio throughout the year. When it comes to competitors, like I said, you could cycle your cardio on and off 1 to 2 weeks. During those off weeks, you have to manipulate and adjust diet. You have to manipulate and adjust fat burning tools. And you're manipulating and adjusting your stimulus to fatigue ratio. And you're also manipulating the amount of cortisol and systemic inflammation that you have from that inflammatory response of higher cortisol because the stimulus to fatigue ratio is much higher. So when you start kind of looking at contest prep in a more methodical, thoroughly thought out way, you can approach fat loss over a long period of time and muscle retention over a long period of time in a smart way. Remember, guys, it's not a suffering contest. It's about a smart, methodical approach. Is it going to be hard to lose fat? Yes. Is it going to be hard to get down to a stage level, lean, body fat ready stage look? Very much so. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not telling you to take an easy approach. I'm simply showing you a different way to think outside of the box of how you approach this. The same way you cycle your diet, you can cycle your cardio, you can cycle your training. And from there, you get the most optimal results while your body's able to retain and maintain that lean muscle tissue that you've worked so hard to gain. So we have those two different styles. We have the physique competitor with a said show date, and we have the lifestyle guy that wants to do this year round. And that's something that I do year round, all year. My lab works are great. My sleep is phenomenal. I don't have the stimulus to fatigue ratio, and of course, this is another topic, but of course, when the fatigue does start to kick in, then we implement deload weeks in the gym, and we do implementation of bringing down our daily step count and refeeding like we discussed in the last podcast. So we're keeping all these things working and firing together. Basal metabolic rate stays up. Your metabolic capacity working in conjunction with T4 to T3 conversion. Leptin is being signaled and fired properly. That way, you're not absolutely starving every minute of the day and food focused every minute of the day. So adherency to this lifestyle is much easier. Where on the other hand of getting ready for a show, you have to understand that it's going to take a lot of hard work and grit and determination to get to that low level of body fat, but you can still do it methodically. You can still do it in a smart, methodical, thoroughly thought out way instead of just slapping on 2 45-minute sessions. Not saying I haven't had people do that, and not saying that I don't have people do that, but not everybody needs the same thing. So find out what you need and approach it with a smart, methodical way, the same way that you would approach your nutritional adherency and approach to cycling your diet. You need to think the same way in terms of cardio. So guys, I said a lot of things here. Simplistically put, cardio doesn't have rules. There's no rules on set amount of cardio. There's no rules on the frequency of cardio. You have to learn how to cycle your cardio in the manner of frequency, intensity, and duration based off how your body is responding. That is a brief synopsis of a cardio overview, guys. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the page and hit that bell notification for the next video that I'm going to drop. And I will see you guys in the next video. God bless.